Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Purpose Tuned podcast. The goal of the show is to create valuable content to broaden your knowledge, inspires you to act, and get you in the right mindset so you can apply it in your own life to drive impact, generate meaning, and achieve your purpose. So today's guest is Hanieh Sigari. She is an entrepreneur, biochemist, and an anti-aging industry disruptor. Her holistic skincare brand, Qyral, is the accumulation of a lifelong mission to improve lives and increase longevity. She is no stranger to entrepreneurship and has experienced driving 600% year-over-year growth with her healthcare startup and taking an e-commerce startup from zero to over $20 million in growth over 5 years. She combines her business acumen, bioscience knowledge, and passion for empowerment and delivers far more than just skincare. Her brand is an opportunity to help lift women to become the next generation of entrepreneurs and leaders. Following the footsteps of her mother, whose efforts lifted hundreds of wartime widows out of poverty, she has built a brand and has helped pave the way for women to change their skin, their incomes, and their lives for the better. So, Hanieh, thank you for coming over and giving us a little talk about your experiences as an entrepreneur.
Thank you. That was a really generous intro.
Thank you. It was a mouthful. I tried the best I could.
You did great. Thank you.
But your background is impressive. I wanted to capture everything, and I wanted to invite you to the show to really speak about your leadership in your space. So tell us more about who you are, aside from what I've read.
Sure. Thank you for having me. My background, like you said, is in the sciences, but besides the entrepreneurial aspect, I'm a mother. I have a 1-month-old and an 18-month-old. So if you can imagine, I haven't gotten too much rest or sleep in the last, I don't even know when the last time I slept was. But yeah, my background is in healthcare, and I'm here to really create impact and change and improve as many lives as possible. So thank you for giving me the chance to talk about it on your show.
Yeah, I'm excited, and thank you for agreeing to be on the show and to share more about your experiences, and how you've led this amazing business. So when you're working with women in this space, what are some of the, I'd say, challenges that they face, and how have you and your business lifted them up?
Sure. I'll start at the beginning, if you don't mind, of why I even got into this or how I ended up here. I was pretty fortunate, actually, I was very fortunate. I am fortunate to have been around really strong women in my life. My mother, I'm of Iranian descent, and my mother, after the Iranian Revolution in '79, was actually imprisoned, and her roommates and a lot of close friends were executed. And she was also on the execution list. So during her time in prison, a friend was able to meet with her and say, hey, I know you have worked with disadvantaged populations and you've worked with women who were prostitutes. Now they're ending up and they're being sent to women's shelters. If I could get you out of prison, would you be able to run these shelters? And of course, my mom's like, get me out of here. I'll do whatever it takes. And she did. And the first thing she did when she did get into the shelter was to teach women skills. She found that there's a lot of value in occupying women's time or anyone's time by teaching them a skill set. And slowly these shelters were being flooded with widows of servicemen because the Iran-Iraq war had started. So, as you can imagine, these two groups and these two populations of street workers and widows who were a little bit more conservative, they were clashing. So she's like, yeah, I got to teach these women skills and I got to get their minds occupied. And she went back, she asked for sewing machines from the State Department at the time. And so, can I have sewing machines to advance the skills of these women? And sure enough, they came back and responded and said, well, if you can also create military uniforms, and if you can create sheets for us because we're in desperate need, then not a problem. We'll give you a grant and we'll give you as many sewing machines as you want. And without knowing anything about business or assembly lines or factories or whatever, she's a social worker. She set up an assembly line for these women. So, you guys make sleeves, and you guys make, the collars of shirts, and so on and so forth. And there was immense value in that she was able to go back and be able to ask for stipends for these women to get paid for their work. And little by little, over the course of several years, the women in these shelters were able to be lifted out of their situation, able to save up. Some of them remarried, some of them moved out. And, I had this really strong figure in this story in my life, and I witnessed it to see, how she was able to do this for so many women. And I was like, I want to do that too when I grow up, and I want to do that. And in fact, I want to multiply it by many, many degrees. And in fact, my paternal grandmother also, she only had a second degree education, a second grade education. And somehow she was able to, start a bakery and start with 10 kids, start a bakery and start little small shops, and later build apartment complexes, not knowing anything about, engineering or whatnot. She was able to figure it out, and she's super resourceful. So to me, this concept of anything is possible was a big theme in my life, that you don't have to know how to do something, just do it and you'll slowly figure it out. And that was, that was a driving force and factor in my life. And I moved to the US at age 7, and right away I made friends with all of the elderly in my apartment complex and neighborhood. And if you can imagine, by the time, when I reached 6th grade or 5th grade, my friends slowly started to drop off one by one. And it was so much grief for, a 10, 11-year-old to grasp. So I thought, it drove me to want to do something in the field of longevity. So I could, at that time, I was like, this way I could preserve their lives. If I could do some sort of research, or I could be a physician or a doctor, I could keep my friends around longer, and people like me won't have to experience so much grief, And so I just had a natural affinity for this population, I guess, anyway. So by the time I was in high school, 16 years old, I think that's the legal age to work in New Jersey. I found myself working at a nursing home. I was just gravitated to it. I applied to all the nursing homes by our home, and finally one of them was like, yeah, you could work as a receptionist. And I was like, I'll take it. I love it. And my shift would start at 4. The administrators would typically leave around 5. And that's when the fun started, really. At 5 o'clock, I would gather all the residents into the corridor, and I would have them sing songs, and I would I just saw how much joy they got from that one-on-one attention, and they kind of came to life. And then, slowly, little by little, I got a little bit more bold, and I started bringing my hair curling iron and my makeup bag, and I started doing their makeup, and I saw how these women who were in wheelchair, or very frail, and like they weren't very tall, they would come to life, and all of a sudden Millie would be like sassy Millie. And I was like, wow, how much impact does beauty have on someone's self-esteem, no matter what age, right? They just come to life, and I love that. So but this theme of like wanting to work in the field of longevity, figure out research and so forth, was still on the back of my mind. So college, I studied biology and psychology, and later studied biochem. I went on to grad school to do that. And when I graduated, I figured, you know what? Back to my my nursing home days, there's a lot of impact I could probably have with one-on-one interaction. So I want to get into maybe like doing a better version of what nursing homes are supposed to be, or doing smaller group homes. And I guess in California they call it convalescent homes, but in New Jersey we didn't really have that. We just had really large 180 bed long-term care facilities. So I was like, I think care needs to be a little bit more intimate. So I started a home healthcare company out of college, again, not knowing anything about business. And I really got a lot of joy when we first started. Immediately, I started focusing on training our employees on providing Alzheimer's dementia care, because there's a different approach that you have to take. And people, I think, who have Alzheimer's are sometimes a little misunderstood. They could be aggressive and so forth, but there's a reason behind that aggression. So if you could guide them, if you could give them keywords and so forth, you could really like impact their lives. And also I was looking into ways to maintain baseline for a lot of these patients. How could we slow down this aging process? But as any good businessman or woman does, this home care company grew and grew like fire. Within the first year, we had over 100 employees. I did over $1.2 million. Again, not knowing anything about what I'm doing, it just grew, and I guess I was trying to keep up with the growth, and that part of being able to train, I couldn't keep up with the training of like doing the training one-on-one.
Right.
And then I was also, at the same time, my husband and I started an e-commerce fulfillment and logistics business. So, I had so much on my plate, and he would go to Korea to do the development of the software. And, I was left with that business. I was just starting to get burned out. And also, we had these employees that we had. I was a little saddened that I couldn't provide them the economic opportunity that I wanted to, right? And it was just because of the insurance reimbursements or Medicaid reimbursements. I wasn't able to give them what they wanted, but they were so hardworking, and it kind of got in my head, how can I be able to give people the opportunity that I've had, right? That we've been able to create this business, and it's grown so fast. And again, the next year I was able to double what I did the first year, and so on and so forth. How can I give these women who are my employees the same type of opportunity? Teach them the skills, because obviously it's not the work ethic. They have it, they're working like crazy and they're doing the hard work. But I wish there was a way I could tell them, like, why don't you start your own business? Have you considered that? And so at the same time, our e-commerce business was growing very, very fast. And, the business model and the home care wasn't really sustainable in the sense of like what I wanted to do. The impact I wanted to have, it wasn't coming through. So I decided to sell that and focus my attention on the e-commerce business. And after a couple years, I was like, it's time to start over and really do. Now that I've gathered all this experience,
Right.
now it's time for me to create a business that I'm really, really passionate about. I can have the impact that I want to have. I can provide the economic opportunities that I want to provide. And I could do something in the field of longevity and aging, right? Instead of doing the care aspect, I always wanted to do research. So how can we incorporate all these beautiful pieces? And during my time in the e-commerce business, I also learned about this world that, and a decade ago, it was still at its infancy, or not infancy, but it was still very young. And I watched these clients of ours grow from 0 to 100 million in 2 years. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of opportunity. So how can I incorporate e-commerce with this longevity, the field of longevity, and still incorporate the impact I'd like to have? And It
so
took
let's step
2 years. Yeah, it
so when
took
you
two
say
years,
long,
but Qyral was born out of that. Yeah.
yeah. So amazing background. So when you say, so first of all, I want to comment on your point about how you were able to, use your talent in putting makeup on these women, and they would come to life. So I can really relate to that because, so I'm one of 12 kids, and my mom, she, of course, as having being a mother, she could, she didn't have time to focus on herself. She gave all her attention and energy to us kids, and so it was only up until recently that my niece, who's a makeup artist, started to put makeup on her, and she was just so happy. And it's just I've never seen her come to life as much as she does when makeup is on her face, and she's just someone else. She's sassy,
Mm-hmm.
she has more courage, she's more confident. So I love the fact that you're helping a lot of these women to bring out their inner confidence and their beauty. That's important work. And I think I also have some investment in skincare. Like I take the pretty good care of my skin. I have a daily routine that I follow to make sure that I'm beautiful and young. And so it's important because that just affects your confidence and how you show up in the world. So um, the other point I wanted to touch on is when you say longevity, like, do you mean in terms of like health wise or like beauty wise? Like, what's your definition of
Well, your skin is your biggest organ, right?
that? Mhm.
And it's the first place to show what's happening underneath, under the hood, right? So
Right.
long, longevity is really, it takes place inside and on a cellular level, but your skin shows the outcome.
Got it.
Um,
So you're talking about like the chemical
yeah,
biological makeup that makes up our skin and what we eat,
exactly,
how we manage our stress, all of that is
exactly,
gonna
exactly.
change the complexity of or the makeup of our skin. Is that what I'm?
That's correct. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So we created this product line that reflects that, right? I thought if I could have the, first of all, I hate the term anti-aging because it's so negative. What is anti-aging, right?
Mm.
There's the concept of aging well, but um
Right.
I wanted to do something that was really effective because I would watch these infomercials and they would talk about, oh, reverse aging overnight, reverse take off 10 years. And I'm like, no, there's no such thing. And obviously everyone wants to slow down aging but the focus should be on aging well. So what does that entail? It really entails having the education to know what does that mean? What is aging? It's such a complex topic. So I wanted to educate people on that. And then I also wanted to give them the products that really do the work. And that would mean personalizing products for individuals, creating it just for them. And so we created Qyral out of, it's a personalized line of skincare and supplements. You
Mm.
take a quiz and a custom formulation is made for you based off of your skin's pH. And everybody talks about, oh, we have these great ingredients. Well, ingredients are not enough. Like you need to focus on the concentration of these ingredients and the pH at which these ingredients are really effective. So
Mm.
that's what we did. We created this algorithm and the platform that learns about you, your skin, your lifestyle, and then we're able to formulate products for you and that change and continue to grow with you as you continue. But more important than that, we have a background that focuses on educating people, either through our videos or their content. We have an ingredients page that I didn't want to just like put ingredients out there. I wanted to tell people that look, it's been scientifically proven that this is effective. So
Mhm.
that's our focus. Like research-based, clinically formulated products that are effective.
Right. So what's your
Yeah.
concept about the environment and how your products come to play with environment for, let's say, your consumers who want to buy your products but may be interested in how they're being made because they care about the environment?
Sure. I think that's I mean, everyone's talking about environmental impact, and it's so important. All of the ingredients that we use are biocompatible. They're meant to work with your skin's natural processes, especially the cellular turnover process, which is the process of pushing skin, rejuvenating skin. So all of our ingredients are meant to work with that cellular process, and they are environmentally friendly in that they're made out of natural products, right? So yeah, we do have that on our mind, for sure. But
Awesome. That's awesome. That's of course, there's a lot of people, for example, I shop at Whole Foods and, there's a lot of products are, they have like a label that says, we raise our animals humanely, and we do it in an environment that is sustainable, that doesn't have a negative impact in the environment. And so, and this is just not on the food industry, but other, it also translates to other industries as well. And it's something that people do have, a lot of concern about. We live in a world
sure.
where we have to take care of the planet, because if we don't, then obviously it's not going to be here for us, right? And so,
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
you know, figuring out a beauty product and see if it works, if we can't figure out, how to build a planet where all of us can live. And so that's important.
Yeah,
So, oh, go ahead.
I agree.
Oh, okay. So how would you consider yourself? So you're an established entrepreneur. When did you consider yourself as a success?
Oh gosh, I don't consider myself a success, and I don't ever want to, because success to me is impact. How many lives are you able to touch? And I think that work will never end. So in the term success, I don't think I'll ever achieve it. But
Mhm.
I will work diligently every single day. And I'll do my best to achieve success in the impact that I have on women and anyone's lives, individuals' lives. But no, I
And
never, I
yeah,
never achieved it. I'm
that's
not
great.
there
I love
yet.
that. You know what that signifies? It means that you're consider yourself perhaps a lifelong learner, even if you achieved in the peak of a mountain. There's always another mountain to climb, right? And
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's an ongoing journey, and that's how you become better, is by pushing
Right.
yourself. And so I love that
Yeah,
you view success as a journey rather than a
yeah,
destination. Would you
exactly.
say that's true?
Yeah, no, that is true. And it's funny, someone recently called me an insecure overachiever, and I think they meant it as a compliment, but it can come off as being insecure, right? When you're like, I'm not successful and so forth. But I find that it drives me and it pushes me, because ultimately my goal is to impact people's lives, right? Like allow them to have the opportunities that we have. And that work will never be done, because after I finish here in the US, there's another country or there's another place. There's always going to be challenges that
Mhm.
I can tackle. So it's not from a place of insecurity, I guess, but rather a place of really wanting to drive impact. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's always a different mountain. You're right. Yeah.
Well, as you're saying that, I see you're looking down and you're like probably reflecting on some of the things you've done, and where you can improve on perhaps. And the thing about, for me, for my concept of success is, of course, for me, it's a journey, and it will always be a journey. And there's no destination. That's the fun part. And what I often fail at is recognizing and appreciating the moments that lead to joy, or perhaps despair. But that's part of the journey, and we have to realize
Hmm.
that. And so, when, for example, if I set a goal and I achieve it, I find it to be less meaningful for me than to actually be on a journey and appreciating every moment on this journey, because that's where the fun part is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that, success, is different for everyone. In your case, you say impact, and I love that, driving impact. I think that in order to improve people's lives, we have to have impact. What does that mean to you? How does impact show up? I think you kind of, gave a
Mm-hmm.
glimpse of
Mm-hmm.
it early on, saying that you want to be able to provide opportunities for people so that they have the kind of financial gains that you have. But are there more to it than just that?
Sure. That's a really good question. I think impact can also come in the form of educating, right?
Mm.
And I love that. So one of the things that we wanted to do with our brand is if you come to our site and buy nothing, but you learned something, then we've done our job. So I want to be able to teach, whether it's entrepreneurial skills, how to generate more wealth, or learn about the human body or longevity. That to me is impact. And I guess in the sense of success, yeah, I've achieved success if you learn something from me. I would love that. But yeah, there's the educating aspect of it is because I've learned. I mean, I'm continuing to learn from different people. I learn from you. I'm a byproduct of the mentors that have been generous enough to take the time to teach me. So if I could pass that on and reach as I climb, then oh my God, how amazing would that be? I would love that, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, I think that when people look to us, um, they definitely see, um, obviously our 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 character or the traits that make up who we are, but really they're also looking for what value can we bring to them in their lives, right? What
mhm,
impact
mhm.
can we have in their lives that will uplift them to be better than they were. And so, and that's what the show is really about, is to help people to be better each
Mhm.
day. Either that is, changing certain things about themselves or certain habits, or looking at success a different way. Um, so I know you've mentioned a few things about, some of the challenges that you face as an entrepreneur. How do you get through those challenges? What are some of the habits or tools or resources that you tap into to get through tough times?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, and it's so cliche, but there's, I guess, with cliche sayings or statements, you don't really understand them until you live through it. But
Mm.
um, I think still showing up every day. Like, how do I get through it? I show up. I still show up, no matter how beat down I feel, how exhausted I am, um, how dismotivated I may be. I still show up. So that's super important. But the conviction and the why is very important too, right? Money cannot be your driving factor. And I've been there where, I've made money, but I felt dissatisfied. I didn't feel like I'm making the impact, and I'm
Mhm.
not empowering people around me. And it just leaves you feeling empty. Your gas tank's empty. So finding your why and sticking with it. Like, my why is how many people and how many women can I empower? That gets me out of bed, even when I haven't slept. I gave birth, and literally, I came home from the hospital. I took a day, and then I went back and I was like, I need to show up, even if it's for 20 minutes, 15 minutes.
Right.
So, yeah, how do I
Can you
get through
repeat
tough
that one more
times?
time?
Having the conviction of knowing that I'm on this journey, and I'm the destination's not as important as the journey itself. So
Right.
show up every day. That's the advice I could give.
So it sounds like you have everything so well put together. Like you have a good definition of what success means to you, and you have your minds, you have the right mindset, in that you see success as a journey. Your legacy is to make an impact on people, and you're using your entrepreneurial skills to not only coach people, but help uplift them to be in a better place than they were. And so I mean, I meet so many people that don't have the types of uh, thinking or mindset that you do. So what is it about you that makes you who you are today? Because that in itself is just incredible. It's like amazing. Uh,
Oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. I think one is thank you for saying that. One is the fact that we are immigrants, right? I
mm,
was born in the middle of the Iran-Iraq war. I'm riding on the back of my ancestors in a sense, and not to put so much pressure, but like it took a lot for me to be here. There's so many
right.
people that had to endure hardships for me to get here. My mom herself with her journey of being in prison, or my dad, you know, he left Iran not knowing a single a lick of English, and
Mm,
being in Spain for some time, and then, you know, making his way here and working so hard to go to school. And so like how can I not be inspired by these people? And we're in this land of infinite opportunities. I have to
right.
make the most of it, right?
Mhm.
um because I guess in other places around the world that opportunity is not there. So if I'm here, like I better take advantage of this. And I don't want to, I guess my biggest fear is, in a sense, looking back and saying, I wish I could have done that when I had the chance, or "Ah, darn, if I only took that risk."
Mhm.
So it's like just live every day fearlessly and do as much as you can. And like, what's the big deal, right? We're all so small in the bigger realm of things. Like,
Right.
why not? You know, what do you have to lose? So and there's no better place than the US to take these chances and have this opportunity, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's great. I mean, when I hear the slogan "Make America Great Again," I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, America
yeah.
is great. Like, I
Uh-huh.
mean, y- eh, some people I find they take things for granted here in the US. And I can relate to your experience because I'm in a similar situation as well. My parents are political refugees of the Vietnam War, and they came here with nothing, empty pockets, spoke no word of English, and I grew up in an apartment of one bedroom apartment with 7 kids and one
Mm.
bathroom, and it was hard to live through that experience. And I remember like one of the things I hated most about being a kid growing up during that time when we were so poor was that we lived in a busy street, and there was a laundromat that was about 5 blocks away, and we would like haul our dirty laundry on this block on this street, and people would see us as we're hauling this basket of of dirty laundries to the laundromat, and I hated that. And so growing up in that environment and seeing what my parents went through and what I went through as a kid, and not really having the I guess normal childhood experience where you get to hang out with your friends and join sports, and because I was busy taking care of my siblings, while my mom was busy taking care of the very young siblings. And so it's I had to grow up really quickly and matured quite fast, more so than my peers. Like when I was in middle school, I was ready for high school. When I was in high school, I was ready for college
Mm.
life,
Mhm.
because I was just that
Mhm.
much more mature than a lot of my peers. And so, like, growing up was not easy, and seeing what my parents went through, I have an infinite love and a devotion to them, and that really propelled me to achieve the things that I've achieved. Not only did I obtain my bachelor's, but I have a master's, thanks to my dad's push for education, and also all of that, like the studies, like how to navigate through the complexity of the educational system, and who do you talk to, how do you ask these questions, talk to your financial advisor or counselor about these classes, like all that I had to learn it the hard way. Like I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
my parents to give me the insight of how the
Mm-hmm.
workings
Mm-hmm.
of the institution operates. And so I think in a way, I now that I'm reflecting on it, I should be proud of that because I was, it meant that I had to be resourceful. I had to be adept.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And all of these traits that lead you and I to where we are today are traits of a leader, are traits of an entrepreneur. And so I just love that, you have such a distinguished background and then you're able to leverage it to make a positive impact in the communities that you serve. And to
Oh,
your
thank
point about how money doesn't achieve success. I think the ultimate failure in life is when you've reached um, financial success and realize that you're not happy. And
you.
so,
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean? That means that we have a purpose or a why. We have to tap into
Mm-hmm.
it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, you
Mm-hmm.
kind of mentioned what your purpose was, and I wanted to stop you there and really like kind of I wish we could just like tweet that out because your purpose is really how do you make an impact in the lives of your clients and your community, right?
Right, right,
And
right.
so so this leads me to my next question, which is what inspires you and why?
Yeah. Well, besides my parents, obviously, I touched on that. But I'm inspired by um, my employees. I'm inspired by, I guess, who am I inspired by? Um,
Do you
my
have like
children.
yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you mentioned that the other day.
Yeah, I guess people who are lifelong learners inspire me. I always there's someone I look up to, and the people that I look up to are lifelong learners. They're curious. They have this hunger for life, and there's not one person that I could pinpoint.
Mhm.
There's so many great leaders that I look up to, but in general, it's any individual that really has this thirst for life, and I want to be around that energy. I want to be around them, and they come in the form of like, you know just anyone. You
Yeah.
can learn something from anyone, but those are I'm inspired by everyone. I hate to say it, but there's something I can learn from anyone and everyone, from the parking attendant downstairs, and like how well he knows what he's doing, like that inspires me. I'm like,
Mhm.
dude, I want to be just like you. Like,
Yeah.
you're so good at what you do and your interactions are so amazing. I'm inspired by people who can communicate effectively because that's an area I'm working on right now.
Really? I can't tell that at all.
No, I think we briefly spoke about it. I think it's like the communication style of Middle Eastern culture and the West is just so different, right? We like tell stories and we go on, and it sometimes sounds like rambling, whereas on the West, it's like get to the point, like tell
Yeah.
me what you say, what you want to say, get to the point. And I think it's not to derail, but I think it's part of the reason is this land of so many immigrants, right? We had to like simplify communication because in order to communicate with one another, and we have to get to the point. So now it's kind of like that's become the norm of communication. So I'm trying to become better at it, and I listen to like podcasts or um, people to learn from it. So I'm inspired by that, but there's not one thing that inspires me. It's hard to say.
Mhm.
Like I'm really inspired by the fact that we've made our way to Mars right now, and we're sending back these images. Like that's amazing. There's a whole new frontier. I get like tears in my eyes thinking about that. So there's just so many inspirations on a daily basis. It's hard to say
Yeah.
that there's that one thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
not to be ambiguous.
no, no, not at all. I mean, I think that you have eyes for beauty all around you, even the little things. And I wish more people had that, right? I wish more people could stop and just look at a person, doesn't matter who it is, and just say, look, I see you, I recognize you, and that gives people a sense of appreciation because you're seeing them for who they are as a human being,
Mm-hmm.
as as someone of value, right?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the was it the assistants or the attendants? I mean, that's how many people can go through life and look at someone in that position and say, I see beauty in you, right? Because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when we're so hierarchical, and it's like when we run our own show, we sometimes, and I know people who will look down on others who don't have the same status as them. Oh, you don't make that much money. Well, I don't want to get to know you. Or
Mm-hmm.
you're just an assistant. Just and they're treated disrespectfully. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
we can go through life seeing beauty in everyone and everything and appreciating it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we
Mm-hmm.
can really maximize the joy that the creator or God or whoever you want to call it, uh, brings into life.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we were
I
to, let's say,
agree.
go
Yeah.
back to the cellular level, we are a makeup of cells, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how were we formed? I mean, it was a makeup of cells, right? And so
Right.
we have to, um, you know, stop and reflect on the little things and really take in the beauty that's in it, even though we may not see
Mm-hmm.
it at first. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that.
The saying, like, the more you know, the more you realize how much you don't know. I think maybe several years ago, I thought I had it figured out, but I'm in this phase, like I'm just taking it all in and I'm learning every day. So it's really hard for me to like have very rigid ideas of what I am, who I am, what I like, what I don't like, because I'm like, I don't know. I haven't tried it all. I haven't experienced it all. I haven't interacted with all that there is. So how can I make a very deterministic decision on who I am, what I want, what I like? I could give you an idea of what I think I like right now, but that may change, right?
Right.
Um, and it's so interesting because if you talked to me 10 years ago, it would not be like that. I was very like, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm going, this is what, and not to say I don't have that in like a business plan, or you have to have some sort of goal in mind, but I understand the pivots that take place. You think you have it figured out until bam, tomorrow it all changes. And
Mhm.
um, 10 months ago, I had this beautiful routine. Like I would wake up at 5, I would do this, I would do that. And then you have a kid and it all goes down the drain, right? And, or month 5 of pregnancy, you can't do what you did month 3, or, so I've learned to become very flexible and be open to different ideas and constantly learn, be like really, really um, appreciate the fact that I'm a lifelong learner and I will change and I have to evolve constantly. So, to your point of what inspires me, like so many things, everyone, my graphic designer, how amazing he is at what he does and how he's able to come up with these creative ideas. I'm like, how did you do that? Right. Um, or just talking to you, your experience, to listening to you, it's like, wow, that's pretty awesome, right? You guys were, your family were political refugees. You made it here, and you had to start from the beginning and learn English. And so
Mhm.
it's like I'm impressed by you as well, and you
Thank
inspire
you.
me every
Yeah, I
day.
mean, just
Yeah.
thinking about it, I mean, if really we were to really think about it, like I'm like one generation away from prosecution, right? One generation
Hmm.
away from prosecution. Like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. And to be able to live in a country where there's endless opportunities and people are all over the world are trying to make it. I should be grateful of that. And so one of the things
Hmm.
that I do, and I try to do on a daily basis is find gratitude because
Hmm. Hmm.
um, Yeah, and you and I know this because we have similar backgrounds, is that when we're able to appreciate things,
Mm-hmm.
there's something about the energy of the universe that just brings us more positivity, more joy,
Mm-hmm.
when we're grateful for it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I see, kids that things are just things are just um, provided to them, and they don't appreciate that. I kind of wonder about my nieces and nephews who now have iPods and iPhones, and they're so in elementary and middle school, and I'm like, I hope that they like that doesn't change, um, you know, the mindset of what it means to be human. And I hope that these materialistic things don't change who we are as humans. Because at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, it's about relationships, right? It's about relationships. It's about the things that matter. Like when we're in our deathbed, we're not going to take our money with us. How can we?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to
Mm-hmm.
be there, in the side of our bed. Are they going to talk to us? No. Like our iPhones, iPads, or our car, like homes, like they're not going to be there. It's the relationships that are going to hold your hand
Yeah,
and talk you through
absolutely.
the journey.
Well,
Um,
I'm actually pretty hopeful on that note. I'm pretty hopeful about the next generation because, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, for example, like
mhm,
after all of our needs are met, right? We have it all. Then what? Then and I think we're at this pivotal point in at least Western culture, and that we're now starting to realize I have it all. What's next, right? And you see it with the Gen Zs. They're a lot more mindful. They're a lot more conscious in many different ways that we weren't, because we were always, when you're in this hamster wheel or you're trying to achieve the basic, your basic needs, it's hard to think about these things. So I am in a way hopeful
mhm.
that generations to come, once all their needs have met, now we could really think about the bigger things. What does it mean to be human? How can we have greater impact? How can we all connect even more? And these conversations are starting to come up, and I love it. And I think it's going to become even more of a theme in years to come, right?
Right.
Especially with technology getting in the way of that human interaction, that one-on-one, face to face, or touch and feel and so forth. So I
Mhm.
think we will start asking those questions, and hopefully we'll get back to those very important things of what it means to be human. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
hopeful.
Yeah, I love that. And I hope that, if we use technology right, then we could really, be the driving force for change, for good change. And that's one of the things
Hmm.
why I host this podcast, is to get people to start thinking about these meaningful topics around what is the
Hmm.
purpose, how do you drive impact in your communities? How do you uplift not only yourself, but the people around you? How do you generate more uh, value in this world? And how do you get people to connect to one another? And so I hope that by having amazing guests such as yourself on the show to speak about these topics, that hopefully it will help improve the lives of people who are struggling so much on what it means to be here on Earth, and why do I exist, and how can I make a difference in the world? Um,
Right. Yeah, I think things get they get bad and then they get much better. So yeah, right now with social media and everything, it is having a negative effect on a lot of people, right? I recently read a study that individuals who spend so and so amount of time daily, within 6 months, the depression rate goes up, and et cetera. Or I think it was a village in Africa where they didn't have TV or anything, and these people rated very high on the happiness scale. And then as soon as they introduced television to them and they saw the Kardashians and they realized what they didn't have, all of a sudden their happiness score went down significantly. So I think yeah, things will get bad a little bit, and before they start to get up, and people are starting to have the conversation right around it.
mhm.
Um yeah, what you see on social media is not necessarily an accurate depiction of people's lives. And again, education is empowerment, and we're going to start having these conversations soon. But I'm very hopeful about the next generation and my children's future.
Yeah.
I'm excited for them.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. It seems like you have a good head on your shoulders, and a positive perspective of what life means to you. What advice would you give my listeners?
Advice. Wow.
Either could be,
I
one
haven't figured it all out yet. So I think showing up every day is super important, right? Don't expect immediate results, and don't let financial goals be your motivator, right? Have a bigger purpose and why, and show up every day, right? Even if it like, again, these sayings are so cliche, but there's something in cliche sayings and you don't really understand until you experience it. When they say, I don't know if it's 50% or 60%, maybe I would say 70% of the work is showing up, right? Or I think it's Seth Godin that says, like, don't go after the results, go after the process, work at your craft, even if you don't see the immediate results right away. So have a bigger purpose, show up every day, and don't think of failure as this like black or white thing. There is no such thing as failure. You always learn from your mistakes, you pivot. There's no failure. You give up, you quit, but you never ever fail. So don't get that word out of your vocabulary. So hopefully that's advice, but I'm still figuring it out. So this is what's worked for me. Yeah. And I think another thing that works for me, if I could just give you like one thing that I do, a piece of advice is, write your goals down, right? Write big picture goals, smaller daily goals, and make it achievable and attainable. So you kind of get that little like, I did something today, right? Like, don't make a long list on a daily basis of 20 things, put 6 things down that are attainable. So you feel good. And then tomorrow you have that motivation to do even more and bigger things. So little attainable goals, don't quit, don't give up, and show up every day.
Yeah, it seems like it is, you're right. I mean, just thinking back at my sales career, like, it's easy to connect with people on a Zoom call, like my prospective clients on a Zoom call, but to actually go out, get dressed, put on your hair, your makeup in your case, and go out and meet your prospective client, like, that brings so much value than like interacting with them over a phone call or something that isn't in person. And so of course it's hard today because of the pandemic, but eventually all of this will be over and we'll be back to normal. And so it is really
oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that day, for us to meet in person about coffee, these basic things that we used to take for granted. I miss that, but you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're above time. So where can people find you in your work should they want to connect with you?
Sure. I mean, if you visit our site, Qyral.com, Qyral, I regularly post there. I put out blog posts, whether it's about entrepreneurship, longevity, beauty, skincare. So you can go there to read and find more information. I'm on, most of my handles are at Hanieh Sigari, so you can find me on social media, Twitter, or you can email me, Hanieh@Qyral.com. and follow us on our Instagram page, Qyral Skincare. So yeah, thank you so much. This was so exciting.
Yeah. Thank you so much, especially you for sharing some insight and contributing your knowledge in this space. And I'm happy that you're now part of a purpose-driven community that I've built. And so there's exciting things in the future for this podcast, and I'm happy that you're part of this community.
Oh, congratulations. I'm excited for you. I look forward to your to growing this community and the impact that you're trying to have. I look forward to many, many years of that.
Yeah. Well, folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Appreciate your time. And if you want to connect to Hanieh, you know where to find her. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.